Recently, on YouTube, I came across a community poll by Mach3. He's currently one of my favorite content creators. He was asking people what games they were playing, if they were playing more modern games or playing legacy games from the 2000 to 2013 era. More than 77% of his 646 voters said they were spending more time playing legacy games, those from the 2000 era. This got me thinking. Are we simply nostalgic for a different era, or is there something fundamentally superior about these older games? I see more and more that people are wanting to return to simpler times over the years. Have you ever wondered why you keep coming back to your old favorites, even with so many new games out there trying to vie for your attention? Let's dive into what might be behind this growing trend. What is driving people beyond nostalgia? In this video, we'll explore whether it's the charm of simpler gameplay, the innovation of the past, or something else entirely that draws us back to these beloved games. I want to start by exploring why we're drawn to gaming in the first place. What goals did this medium set out to achieve? Gaming is unique among media because it allows us to interact directly with the worlds and characters we encounter. It's not just about observing, it's about leaving our mark, impacting these virtual spaces and overcoming challenges. I want you to ask yourself, why are you still playing after all these years? What drives you to keep exploring gaming as a hobby? Is it to outdo your friends and secure bragging rights? Maybe you like to challenge yourself and see how far you can push your abilities. Or perhaps you're simply getting lost in an immersive world and its inhabitants. This question I pose may be a simple answer for you, but I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we explore more topics in this video. Regardless of the reason, what's crucial is that by the end of our gaming experience, we feel a sense of satisfaction. We seek fulfillment from the time we invest, whether it's the thrill of competition, the joy of creation, or the pleasures of immersion. Understanding our motivations helps us appreciate what makes gaming so compelling, and why certain games, especially those from the past, continue to hold a special place in our hearts.
insert entertainment.
One of the crucial elements of a memorable gaming experience is the challenge it presents. A challenge can be daunting and complex, or simple and straightforward, but what matters is how it impacts our journey. Let's look at a prime example, World of Warcraft. When WoW launched in 2004, it lit the world on fire. Players logged in daily, grinding for hours on end to earn loot and level up. Instead of meeting with their friends outside, they were meeting up in this virtual world to conquer challenges that could only be overcome through teamwork. People were dedicating so many hours to WoW, at some point their families and the media were beginning to believe that WoW was causing a gaming addiction among teens and young adults. What made WoW so compelling? Why were so many people willingly putting so much of their time into this game? Unlike many MMOs of its time, which punished players harshly for their mistakes, consequences such as losing XP on death or items being dropped off their character, sometimes losing hours of progress, WoW eliminated a lot of these things. As long as you kept playing, questing, and fighting, you would eventually max out your character. This design made the challenge not about avoiding failure, but about perseverance and progression. For the most dedicated of the player base, the game offered new challenges, forming parties and raids to tackle the toughest encounters, farming gold for the best mounts and equipment, climbing the ranks in player versus player battles. Even if you didn't participate in these high-end activities, their presence had a motivational effect. Seeing a high-level player with impressive gear inspired others to strive for similar achievements. The game created a sense of ongoing progression, where the challenge was not just about immediate goals, but about chasing long-term rewards. I will never forget being a level 10 warlock and visiting Stormwind for the first time, and seeing a level 70 warlock on his dread steed, walking around in his corruptor's raiment. He looked amazing. He looked like the most powerful being in all of Stormwind. When I saw that, I was inspired. I went right out back to questing and was telling myself, I'm going to be that powerful in the future. I'm going to be that kind of cool warlock. Allowing players to show off their achievements on their characters through their appearance really inspired a lot of other players who may not be doing the content yet or are still leveling up. This means even if you were still fighting boars or bandits, you were still encouraged to go out there and work harder, so that someday you may be able to face down the greatest threats in Azeroth and look as mighty as your favorite heroes in the game. Now let's contrast this with the current state of World of Warcraft. The modern version of the game has evolved significantly. While it still offers leveling and raiding, many players prefer the original version, so much so that Blizzard created a classic version to cater to this demand. In the current game, enemies are defeated easily, and leveling is faster. Flying Mount zipping from one area to the next and streamlined quests make the world feel less dangerous. You can even skip a lot of the challenges of making gold or even leveling by paying for them with actual money. The challenge has diminished, and some players feel that the experience is lacking compared to the original's grittier, more rewarding challenges. The game also has kind of shunned some of its social aspects. You can queue up for dungeons and never speak to those people that you played with ever again. You can queue up for raids, do a raid, get your rewards, and leave, and never speak to those people again. No collaborative team effort. Yes, some of the high-level content would actually require you to find a guild and work together, but ultimately, most of the game can be spent by yourself without ever playing with anyone else, and you can buy your way past leveling, something which the original game spent a lot of thought into making sure was fun and enjoyable. This contrast raises an important question. Are we drawn to the older version of WoW purely on nostalgia, or does it offer a fundamentally different experience that some find more satisfying? The answer is likely a mix of both. The original game's challenge and sense of accomplishment it provided resonate differently to the modern version's more accessible approach. Both of these versions of WoW have completely different philosophies behind them. While the original game encourages time commitment and working together with other players to overcome challenges, the newer version of WoW strives to allow you to do as much as possible in a limited time span. It also throws various forms of content at you to constantly try and keep your attention in the game. They want to appeal to a wider audience, not just to MMORPG players. This example highlights a broader trend. Many contemporary games across genres strive to be more accessible, offering options to adjust difficulty and streamline progress. While this approach has its merits, it can dilute the sense of challenge and reward. Games like those in the Souls genre exemplify how a tough challenge can make victories feel more meaningful. These games are celebrated for their difficulty, and players find deep satisfaction in overcoming tough obstacles. When Elden Ring came out, I felt like I was a kid again. Every day my friends and I would compare our progress. I was always proud I was the first one in our group to beat Millennia. I even got the Platinum Trophy. I was so proud of the challenges I conquered in that game. Ultimately, the challenge in games is more than just a hurdle. It's a key part of what makes the experience rewarding and memorable. When everyone has access to the same achievements, the sense of accomplishment can diminish. This is why FromSoft refuses to add easier difficulty, despite an outcry for it. The challenge not only connects us with others, but makes our success feel more significant. If everyone is epic, then no one is.
I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, in darkness, a doom sweeps the land. This is the 27th of last seed, the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours of my life.
One of the biggest selling points we saw in the 2000s for games was that this game would allow you to impact the game world in some way. The world will see you differently if you do good deeds. There are consequences for doing bad deeds. The world is shaped and impacted by you. A lot of games strive for this. Let's take a look at an example around this time. Fable. The entire game is built around your ability to be a hero of justice and win the hearts of the many villagers who lived in the game world. That, or you could be a villain. Your appearance changed to match and people go on hating and fearing you. The best part? The bandits and other people in the game who usually see you as an enemy will be willing to team up with you and they will see you in a more positive light. The world reacts to your choices. By far, one of the biggest contrasts to modern gaming can be seen here. Let's take a look at Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion and see how that game allows you to impact it.
Have you heard of the High Elves?
In Oblivion, you go from a no-name prisoner to becoming who you want to be, whereas the hero of the Empire, leader of the Fighters Guild, or becoming a crazy death cult worshipping assassin. The characters in the world will reflect and respond to what you do. The game aims to be a breathing world. Due to this, pretty much every NPC that isn't a monster will have a name, a job, and a role to fill. Nothing in the game stops you from killing most of them unless they're essential to a main questline. Say you steal from a merchant and they catch you. You and the merchant draw blades and you cut them down in an effort to try and cover up your crime. Well, even if the guards don't find out and put a bounty on your head, you definitely won't see that merchant again unless you reload your save. Oblivion's predecessor, Morrowind, took this a step further and even allowed you to kill any NPC. Even if they're the most important person in the room, and they're the only one that can help you complete your quest to save the world, you could kill them and doom the world. Now let's contrast this with Starfield, Bethesda's most recent release. In this space game, players will encounter hundreds of procedurally generated worlds and NPCs. While the scope is impressive, the focus on randomly generated content means that individual NPCs lack the depth and personality of the characters from previous games. Instead of walking into a lived-in city with Ysolda the merchant, Yorlin Greymate, the best smith in the village, and...
Do you get to the Cloud District very often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't.
Now we have randomly generated no-name NPCs populating the town. You can kill and terrorize as many as you like, and it will have little effect on anything other than the bounty going up. While I do think this is the kind of game that can work, it's not to the strength of Bethesda. The Bethesda we love makes a world that is compelling and immersive and has NPCs in it that we want to care about and love. These examples highlight a shift in how immersion and player impact are approached. Older games often provided rich, responsive worlds where every action felt significant. In contrast, modern games sometimes prioritize scale, procedural generation, and Hollywood movie experiences over detailed, personalized interactions. Both approaches have their merit, but the sense of connection and impact that defined earlier games is less prevalent in a lot of titles these days. One of the defining features of early gaming was the thrill of competition. In the days of arcades, players vied for high scores, striving to outdo one another. This competitive spirit remains strong today, though the nature of competition has evolved. Modern games often emphasize teamwork rather than individual high scores. This shift has led to a rise in team-based games, where success is more collective and responsibility can be shared. Despite this trend, the retro competitive scene remains vibrant, driven by a desire to master games on a personal level. Take for instance speedrunners, who continue to push the limits of older games. They constantly find new ways to break records, complete games faster than ever before. The dedication to mastering these classic games is a testament to their enduring appeal. At the most recent EVO event, I was struck by the presence of older fighting games. Street Fighter Third Strike, despite being 25 years old and absent from the EVO main stage since 2009, attracted over 1,000 entrants. The level of continued engagement speaks volumes about the lasting impact of these games on competitive players. Similarly, Super Smash Bros. Melee has maintained a passionate fan base despite the release of newer entries in the series. These games exemplify a golden age of competitive gaming, where the core challenge of improving one's skill remains central. Harada, the director of the Tekken franchise, has observed that many young competitive gamers prefer team-based games because they allow players to shift the blame onto teammates. While this was likely said in somewhat of a jest, there is truth to this. This shift contrasts with the older competitive games where individual skill and responsibility are paramount. In games like Tekken or Street Fighter, you face challenges head-on. Any shortcomings fall squarely on your own shoulders. Tekken and Street Fighter are experiencing a resurgence. Fighting games are more popular than ever right now, and some even call this a new golden age of fighting games. I am inclined to agree with them. Fighting games are a genre that I feel at its core has not truly changed in the last couple decades. While mechanics of each iteration of your favorite button master have changed, the core value is the same. You hone your own skills, you get better on your own terms. The game and its players will never show mercy to you, so it's up to you to break down those limits. With all that being said, the appeal of competitive gaming is not the matter of nostalgia. Many players continue to find joy and challenge in older games, striving to improve and compete despite the changing landscape of gaming. For instance, Street Fighter 6 offers substantial rewards such as a $1 million prize pool, yet dedicated players remain committed to the challenges of Third Strike. The dedication highlights that the essence of competitive gaming, mastery and personal achievement, transcend time and trends. Throughout this video, we've delved into how legacy gaming titles offered unique challenges and experiences that seem to be less prevalent in modern games. While we could explore even more aspects, such as the era's spirit of experimentation and innovation, the core takeaway is clear. Many players find that older games provide a level of satisfaction and challenge that today's titles often lack. It's evident that for a substantial number of gamers, the lure of classic titles goes beyond mere nostalgia. These games offered experiences that may not be fully replicated in the current gaming landscape. While my examples were drawn from my own experiences, I'm sure many of you have your own cherished titles that resonate with you. I'd love to hear about your favorite games and why you still play them to this very day, even after all these years. Drop your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more discussions like this, let me know. I'd love to do more videos like this one.
Yeah, real cool. Let me try to sound intimidating. Look. Somebody call Canon this ish. You can't relate to street fighting, battle rapping. We the alpha in this. The genesis, my exodus is abyss. Shouts to the homie Riff. We